Okay, sounds good. Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. So to do a little introduction, my name is Iluminada Vilca. I'm one of the 4 nutrition educators at the Cornell Cooperative Extension. It's actually down St. Paul Boulevard, and you can visit us if you have a chance. Now, today I was invited to talk about sugar. So we are going to talk about sugar. Is it good? Is it bad? We're going to look at the My Plate, maybe refresh. If some of you have participated before, we can look at that again. But some things that I would like to everybody know. So if you have a question, if the teachers in the classrooms can raise the hand, the emoji, raise hand, and then I can ask the room if there is a question. You are free to have questions during the presentation, so I can also address them. And I will also be careful with the time. I know that we have 1 hour, so I will also try to stick to that hour. So let's start now. Let me share my screen and then we can start with the presentation. Very good. Okay, so how much of sugar is good? Is it good or is it bad? Let's take a look. First, we need to look at the My Plate. And I'm pretty sure that you already know the My Plate, right? And maybe you can raise your hand if you have seen it before. Yes, and I can see, yeah. Very good. You have seen the My Plate. So something important, because we are going to start talking about sugar, and maybe you already know this, is that everything in this My Plate, right? It can be some fruit like an apple, or grains like rice or pasta, dairy like cheese or milk, or protein like a fish or chicken, or vegetables, right? Like cucumbers or zucchini, anything that you would like. Everything that you eat here is going to turn into sugar in our blood, right? And that sugar is going to be the energy that our body needs to work properly, for our heart to beat milliseconds, right, all the time, for our stomach, our lungs, our liver, our kidneys, everything. So that's the energy that our body needs. Everything turns into sugar in our blood. Now, let's take a look at 2 types of sugar. We are going to have natural sugar in some of those food groups. So again, looking at the My Plate, there are going to be 2 food groups, and maybe here you can raise your hand and you can let me know. There are 2 food groups that have natural sugar. So anyone has an idea which 2 food groups have natural sugar and how do we call them? Anyone that would like to participate? If not, I will tell you. No? That's okay. And let me go back and share my screen. So the first one is going to be fruit. So fruits are going to have natural sugar. Now, how do we call the natural sugar in fruits? Fructose. So fructose is going to be in the fruits. Now, the other food group that also has natural sugar is going to be dairy. Dairy will also have natural sugar. How do we call that natural sugar in dairy? I will give another chance here if anyone would like to participate. In Gianna?
Yes. Can you guys say it loud?
Yes, very good. Lactose is the natural sugar in dairy. Very good. So when we hear maybe somebody is lactose intolerant, it means that their stomach doesn't tolerate that kind of natural sugar, right? The natural sugar we find in dairy. Very good. So let me go back and share my screen, right? And we have here lactose. Oops. There you go. So remember this, when you would like to make a meal, prepare something, prefer to use natural sugar instead of added sugar. Now, added sugar. Oh, this came fast. I was going to ask you what is the added sugar. So added sugar, as we have in the picture here, right? We have cakes, pies, candies, chocolate, everything all of those will have added sugar. Now, added sugar is not going to be healthy for us all the time, right? Maybe once in a while will be okay, because always prefer to have the natural sugars. And you know now that everything turns into sugar in our blood. So be careful with that added sugar. Now, something else here, and this is part of the American Heart Association. So you can also go online and you can look at what do the dietary guidelines say. Now, the American Heart Association mentions that you can still have a little bit of that added sugar. Now, we have it here in difference, like for example, adults, women and teens. Women, right, they can only have maximum of 6 teaspoons of sugar. For adult men, 9 teaspoons of sugar. So they give you a limit. Now, my humble advice, we really do not need that added sugar, right? Everything turns into sugar in our blood. Like when, let me be in a spotlight. So when I show you, oops, I don't think I can, oh, there, I pee myself. So when we look at the My Plate, right, remember everything turns into sugar in your blood. So we really do not need that added sugar. So be careful. And I have some examples for you. So let me go back. There you go. And let me share my screen again. So I have some examples here. Now, let's start talking about those natural sugars. So, and I'm going to show you, while I'm showing you the amount of sugar, I'm going to measure the amount of sugar so you will also be able to see it. So this label is an orange, right? A medium orange. So here we have size, 1 fruit. Whenever you read the labels, always look, what is this label talking about? So serving size is 1 fruit. So all this label is talking about 1 fruit. Now, 1 orange, right? We have 35 calories, but we are going to concentrate on the sugar. So here it says 7 grams. So let me stop sharing my screen here. I will be in the speaker mode again, and I will move my camera a little bit here. So I have a little cup, and I also have some sugar here. I have some sugar and a teaspoon to actually measure the amount. So let's do the division. Anyone can shout the answer. So 1 teaspoon is going to have 4 grams. Doesn't matter if we are measuring salt, sugar, butter, right? Oil, 4 grams is in 1 teaspoon. So it said, the label said 7 grams, right? So 7 divided by 4, how many teaspoons do I need to add here in this cup? And I can put my camera down so you can also see. Oops, there you go. So how many teaspoons do I need to add? 7 divided by 4, how much is that? Like 2 teaspoons, right? So it's 1.7. So 2, 1 and 2, right? So this is the amount. 2 teaspoons will be the amount that we find in 1 orange, right? So this is what it will look like. Now, remember, this is natural sugar, okay? So now let me go back and share my screen again. Let me see. Very good. So that's 1 orange. So now let's take a look at the next one. So this is 1 bottle, right? Here, looking at the label, serving size 12-ounce bottle. So this one has 12 ounces. And let's take a look at the amount of sugar. Total sugars, 34, right? How many oranges they squeeze to make that bottle? Now, 34, let's divide it by 4 again. Anyone would like to do the math and give me the amount? 34 divided by 4. Yes? So it will be like 8.5. So let's start counting. 9, right? So 8.5 will be 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there we go. 9 teaspoons in 1 bottle, right? So let's take a look again. 1 orange, right? 2 teaspoons, and this one is 9. So natural sugar is not bad for you, right? But also be mindful, because whenever we look at the, excuse me here, with the My Plate, right? We mentioned that everything turns into sugar. This is also another question for anyone that would like to answer. When everything turns into sugar, right? And this turns into energy in our blood, right? Because that's how we use it. Now, if we have too much of this sugar, is going in and we do not use it, right, as energy, it's going to be turned into something else. How is it going to be turned into? It's going to be transformed into something else if we do not use it as energy. Anyone has an idea? No? It will actually turn into fat. Yes, so that's important. If we do not use that energy, right, it's going to be turned into fat. So even when we talk about, let's say, the 100% juice or the orange that are natural sugar, if we do not use these as energy, it's going to be transformed into fat. So that's also important to remember. Now, let me go back and share my screen again. So then we can take a look at something else. Milk. We mentioned that milk, right, dairy, will also have natural sugar, and that's the lactose. Very good. Now, I have some labels here, and I actually, for this one, we can, I have it already written down. So we are going to look at certain things that I thought will also be important besides sugar. So when we look at the label, let's say for milk, let's take a look. This serving is 1 cup. So 1 cup is going to have all of this, right? Now, looking at the sugar, we have 11 grams of sugar. Now, we can assume that this sugar is the natural sugar, right? So 11 grams here. Now, something else when we look at milk is the calcium, right? Calcium is going to be important for our bones. So here we have 30% of calcium. And then vitamin D, we also combine calcium and vitamin D because vitamin D is going to help us absorb that calcium. So we have 20% here. Now, fat. Fat also is going to be important whenever we look at milk and everything related to the animal, right? I believe we mentioned before a little bit about saturated fat, but saturated fat has everything that has I'm sorry, everything that comes from the animal will have that saturated fat, right? But the saturated fat that the animal has is going to clot our arteries little by little. So it's going to be very important to look at the amount of fat. So looking at the total amount here, this is whole milk, has 9 grams of fat. So putting in written down, whole milk will have 30% of calcium, 11 grams of sugar, and 9 grams of fat, okay? Now, the next one is the reduced fat. This is the 2% milk. Now, we look again at the label, right? This is 1 cup, so it's talking about 1 cup. Now, different brands are going to give you different amounts. Like this one is 236 milliliters. This one is 240, okay? I'm just mentioning because later we will see a difference there. Now, looking at the amount of fat, we have 5 grams, right? Then we have sugar, 12 grams. And then calcium, 30%. So now, writing it down, 30% of calcium, the same as whole milk. Sugar, 12 grams, is a little bit different. Why? Maybe it must be for the brand. Sometimes brands will have a little difference. We are going to see for the next ones. But normally, it is actually 12 grams. I was trying to look before our presentation for something that will be the same. But sometimes it will be a little bit different. So it will be between 12, 11, right? And now the amount of fat, 5 grams. So the difference here mainly is going to be the amount of fat, okay? Now, The next one is the low fat or the 1% milk. Again, looking at the label, it's talking about 1 cup, right? Now, looking down, total amount of fat, 2.5. Sugar, 12 grams. And calcium, 30%, right? Very good. So going to the table here, 30% of calcium, the same, right, for all of them. 12 grams of sugar, here is the same, right? A little bit different here. And the amount of fat, 2.5 grams. That's the difference, right? Now, let's continue with the last one. Skim milk, right? The one, skim, no fat milk. How many grams of fat? 0 grams of fat. Now, sugar, 12 grams. Calcium, 30%. So going back, we have 30%, 12 grams of sugar, and 0 grams of fat. Now, why I mention also the amount of fat? Because whenever we count the calories for anything, it's going to be, and I mentioned to you, everything will turn into sugar in your blood, right? That will also be turned into sugar, and that's the energy that we need. But it's important to mention the amount of fat because that's the fat that is going to clot our arteries little by little. So let's say if we have whole milk, right, it has more fat in it, but it has the same amount of calcium as the skim milk. So why not to have the one that will give us less fat, or even the 1%, right? 1% or the skim milk, the non-fat, that has less fat is going to be better for us. So always look at that. Now, this is a question if anyone would like to answer. What happens when we have milks that have flavor? Like when we have children, right? Sometimes in a school, they also have the chocolate milk or strawberry milk. So that will be more sugar, right? So wouldn't it be better to have more a natural one without the flavor? Yes? Very good. Now, added sugars. We are going to talk a little bit more about added sugars. And I would like to stop here to ask if there is any questions. Do we have any questions so far? We are good with what I mentioned just till now? Yes? Okay. So let me go back and share my screen. So now let's look at the added sugar here. Now, talking about added sugar, we said cakes, chocolates, candies, right? They will have added sugar. So always look at those labels, compare and be mindful. Now, do anyone remembers the maximum amount of added sugar that we can have? The American Heart Association mentioned. So we can also refer to that. Anyone remembers for male, female, how much sugar was it? The maximum in teaspoons? No? It was 6 teaspoons for women and 9 for men, right? So thinking about that, yes? Okay, so now thinking about that, let's go back and let's look at this. The label for Snicker, right? The amount of sugar here, but first, serving size is 1 bar. So this label is talking about the whole bar, right? All of this. Amount of sugar, 25 grams of sugar. Now includes 23 grams of added sugar. Now, if we do the subtraction, 2 grams are going to be of natural sugar. So the total is going to be 25. But even looking at only the added sugar that we know, added sugar is not going to be good for us, right? So let's divide 23 grams of that added sugar by 4. How many teaspoons is that? I have my calculator next to me. 23 divided by 4 is like 6 teaspoons of sugar. That's the maximum amount. Now imagine one person that will have this and the maximum amount is 6 teaspoons of added sugar. And then you can add some sugar to your coffee that you're going over the amount that you're supposed to have of maximum of added sugar, right? So be careful whenever you have those sweets, how much you have them. And again, we do not need it, right? So let's take a look at the soda here. This is a cola soda, right? Looking at the label, is going to talk about 1 can. And now let's take a look at the sugar, the amount of sugar. 39 grams of sugar. Yes? So now I will stop here and I will still ask for someone to help me. 39 divided by 4, so then I can also measure the amount of sugar. So how much would it be? Maybe Olivia, you would like to help me. 39 divided by 4. Yes.
I can't do math in my head. Hold on.
Don't worry, calculator.
9.75. So 10
Okay.
basically.
Okay, so 1, thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. So this is the amount of sugar that we find in one of those. So let me go back and share my screen. So 1 can will have this amount of sugar, right? 10 teaspoons of sugar. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, and I will stop here and then go back to here. So 10 teaspoons of sugar. Now imagine one person drinking 1 can of soda every day for 1 year, right? How many days in a year? 365 days. Now imagine that person, how much sugar would that person be drinking or eating in 1 year? I know the answer. 30 pounds of sugar, around that, like 30 pounds of sugar, one person, right? And if that person doesn't use that as energy, it's going to be transformed into fat, right? So always be mindful about that. If that person, for example, stops drinking the sodas, it's going to lose some weight because it's not going to have that extra sugar, right? So again, this one is 10 teaspoons of sugar. Now, let me go back and share my screen. Let's continue with the next one. Now, this one. How many of you get this, like 1 bottle of soda? Some of us, yes? Okay. So, for sugar, it's going to be 65 grams of sugar. Now, 65 divided by 4, how much would that be? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I already have my 10 teaspoons here for the can. So 65 divided by 4. Yes? 16. We need to add 6 more teaspoons of sugar here. So let's take a look just for the pleasure of seeing how much. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there you go. 1 bottle of that soda will have 16 teaspoons of sugar, right? Isn't that amazing how much sugar we can actually eat or drink? So there you go, right? In 1 soda, 16 teaspoons of sugar. Very good. Let's take a look at another one. Now, this one is Gatorade. Sometimes we say, oh, it's going to give you energy, right? But be mindful of the amount of sugar that it has. Maybe, and if you want to be hydrated, you can actually make your soup. That soup will have more minerals that will hydrate you than the actual Gatorade. So let's take a look at this label. This label, again, is talking about 20 ounces. Serving per container, 1, right? So how many grams of sugar? 34 grams of sugar. So now 34 divided by 4. So we can also take a look here. 34 divided by 4. Anyone? So 34 divided by
8 and a
4.
half, 8.5.
Okay, thank you. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's say and a half. Very good. So 8.5 teaspoons, right? Now, if we compare these 8.5 teaspoons with this is the other one, the 100% use, right? Which will be healthier, the Gatorade or the 100% use? The 100% use, right? Because this, with the 100% use, is going to be the juice from the fruit. It has minerals, vitamins. Then this Gatorade will not have. This has added sugar. There is no natural sugar in here, right? So always look at that. Which one is natural sugar? Which one has artificial added sugar, right? So also be mindful about that. Now, I think I just have one more. Let me see. So now that we finished with Gatorade, oh, something important that here we can also look at is the ingredients, right? How many ingredients are going to be sugar? And I have another slide for that, but here we have water, first ingredient, second ingredient, sugar. And then dextrose, that's another kind of sugar. So here we have two kinds of sugar in Gatorade. Now, reading labels, right? So always, doesn't matter which product you are going to buy. The first ingredient is going to be the one in more quantity in the package, in the bottle that you're buying. So always look at the first ingredient. If the first ingredient is sugar, run away. We don't need that added sugar, right? So be always mindful of what we have. So here we have, for example, brown sugar, right? Then sugar. Then we go down, malted barley extract, I'm sorry. That's sugar too. Molasses, also sugar. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4 kinds of sugar, right? So always be mindful, be careful with those sugars and what are the names. Sometimes we can find in different names. It's not going to be just sugar. Yes. And, oops. Here, looking again at the label and looking at the kinds of sugar, ingredients, water, second, sucrose is another way to say sugar, glucose, sugar is also sugar, right? High fructose corn syrup, it's another way of sugar, right? So there are different words, always be mindful, what are you having? And just to have more ideas of healthy maybe drinks or dishes that you can have with natural sugars like fruit or lactose, right? These are few websites where you can find many recipes, few ingredients. So we have the What's Cooking from the USDA, from the government, SNAP-Ed from our program, also good recipes. Food Hero, this is from Oregon University, Oregon University, and the Choose My Plate, that is also from the government. All of them good recipes. So if you would like to take note of those and then look online, those are really good. Now, for this one, let me, because we already did the presentation with the sugar, I will skip that part, but this is one of the handouts that you will receive or you have received already. So there is more information about make beverage choices, right? Healthy drinks, and maybe if you have any questions, maybe we can talk about it after the presentation, that we have some time. And then here you have more ideas of flavored drinks, right? Instead of using sugar, what can we have? Maybe we can add some cucumbers like here, or some fruits. How about apples, or maybe some cinnamon, right? Anything. Let it sit in the water for a little bit, and then you will have a little flavor of that fruit or veggie that you're adding, instead of having sugar, right? Something healthier. And lastly, this is one of the good handouts that we have that explains more about sugar, all what I mentioned to you, even how to read those labels and the ingredients. So I hope this was a good eye-opener for you. And I am open to questions right now, if you have any questions. Yeah. Very good.
I think Gina might have a question. I see her coming over.
Yes, you see me running. So one of my students was asking about diet sodas, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any comments on diet sodas and if they're a good idea or not?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good question. So diet sodas, everything that is going to be diet is going to have a substitute of sugar, right? So let's say aspartame, sucralose, different ones. Now, they will not have the calories, right, that other beverages will have if they have the added sugar. But there is a research that maybe I can also share with Olivia, and then she can share with everybody. This talks about diet and everything that is diet. Be mindful whenever you have those. Everything that is artificial, right? Have a little doubt. Yes, you are not going to have those calories, but in a long term, it can affect your health. What this research shows is that actually, yes, you're not going to have those calories, but what happens in your body is going to trigger, is going to turn on those cravings of sugar. So you are not going to have the sugar with this beverage, but you are going to, I feel I would like to have some chocolate or some cookies. How about some ice cream? You are going to start craving sugar, right? So be mindful. Yes, be mindful, be careful with that. So great question. Yes. Very good. Do we have any other question?
We also had a few questions about milk. One of the questions was about like almond milk or oat milk. And the other one was wondering with the different types of milk, like whole, skim. We were just curious where the extra gram of sugar in the lower fat ones comes from.
Uh-huh. Yes, so we can look at the labels back. Okay, I will leave. There is another question in the chat, but let me answer. So we are talking about the first one, I'm sorry, is about the different kinds, right?
Almond milk.
Oats. Yes. So those meals are good. You can also have those. Like, for example, giving you my example, personal example. I cannot have any dairy. I'm allergic to dairy. And we know that calcium is going to be in dairy, right? So where do I get my calcium? From almond milk and down for oat milk and all those different ones. Always look at the label. If you are looking for the calcium there, the different brands will have different amounts of calcium. So that's where I can have my calcium, or let's say I can have some spinach, kale, broccoli that will also have calcium. But going back to the milks and different kinds of milks, almond, oats, soy milk, they are going to be good. It's okay to have them. If you want to have more calcium, yes, look at those labels that will have more, which one has more calcium. So that will be basically the difference. Now, when we have milk that doesn't come from the animal, even though we'll also have some fat, the fat that we're going to find them in there is not going to be the one that is going to clot our arteries. Like we will find some saturated fat. So when we talk about fat, we have two kinds of fat. The saturated fat, right, turns into cholesterol, right? And then we have the good cholesterol that we also find in saturated fat, but in the vegetables, let's say, or even the seeds, right? Like, let's say, if you have sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, all of them are going to have the good cholesterol, right? Good and bad cholesterol, we need them in our body, and they need to be in balance. So if we have, let's say, the almond milk, soy milk, you are adding more of that good cholesterol in your blood. So it's not going to be a bad idea also to have them. Yes. And I'm sorry, I skipped the other question, right? Which was the other?
The other one was when you're showing the chart with like whole milk, 1%, 2%. And it had 11 grams of sugar for the whole milk and then 12 for the others. We were just curious where the extra 1 gram comes from in the
Oh, okay, let me.
ones.
Yes. Yes, let me go back. So, oops. So here we have, there. So you mean this one here, the whole milk?
Yes, of sugar, not fat, sorry.
Ah, okay. The amount of sugar. So for this one, I mentioned that it has to be because of the brands. Normally, I have found others that are the same, 12 grams of sugar. So it must be only because of these ones. So when I chose the different ones, these ones are different brands. Island Farm, then we have Kemp's, then we have Maola, Clover. So must be because of the brand. Now, it might also influence the pasteurization. When you boil the milk, it can affect in a way, but I would say it depends on the process of the milk. So that's what it will determine, maybe just a little difference at the end with the amount or the grams of sugar, or even with vitamin D. I have also noticed here, and we didn't read vitamin D here, but for example, this one has 20% of vitamin D. Then the next one has 25% of vitamin D, right? And then this one, 25 again. And the last one has 25. So it will depend. Sometimes different brands will also have more of that vitamin D. And even some other brands will add more calcium, right? They will add even more. So it will depend. That's why it's very important to look at the labels. But here is a very slight difference. It's just 1 gram. Yes. And all of them are natural sugar. So when they are not mixed with, let's say, chocolate, right? Or strawberry, chocolate milk will have added sugar. But these ones are plain. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, very good. Any other questions?
Jenny asked a question in the chat, Illuminata, about if eating sugar harms children's growth.
Growth. Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, we need to be careful with the amount of sugar that we give to our children. As we have seen, right, in the My Plate, everything is going to turn into sugar in our blood. Children do not need added sugar. That's why the American Heart Association also mentions that youth can have 6 teaspoons of sugar maximum, right? But they don't have only 6 teaspoons. How many teaspoons were in 1 can of soda? 10 teaspoons, and the big one, 16, right? So always be careful with that. It can, yes, it could stop the growth, let's say, in a way, because you are going to add more of that sugar in your blood. And if they do not use it as energy, it's going to be transformed into fat. Then we are talking about gaining more weight. They will not like to do some exercise. Exercise helps the children, right, with protein, because protein is going to help them to grow, to be taller, and have let's say, locate that energy where it needs to go. So always, yes, be careful with that sugar. And then what sugar also does in the children is going to make them feel hyper, right? And they will not concentrate themselves much. So always be careful with that sugar with the children. Yes. And we have another, another student is wondering about if there are certain foods that help burn fat and sugar. Example, they have heard that celery and pineapple and caffeine can help lose weight. Is it true? So, yes, there is a myth with them. Now, it doesn't mean that they are not good for you. Like, for example, celery attributes with the help of blood, helps to circulate blood. Pineapple is a good diuretic. It's going to help you to go to the bathroom to release the water, right? Then with the caffeine, so caffeine, pineapple, I haven't heard about celery, though ginger. They are going to help your metabolism go a little bit faster. Now, it is not that only having those are going to be the magic food for you to help you burn fat. It's not like that. It's a combination of everything. So whenever we talk about healthy, balanced meals, a balanced diet, it's going to be a combination. It's going to be a lifestyle. Once you start eating more fruits and vegetables in your diet, doing some exercise, that is going to help. Yes, there are foods that are going to actually help you, let's say, activate more your metabolism. But it's not that, oh, it is the food that is going to help me lose the weight. It's not kind of like that. It's a combination of everything. Yes, include them in your diet. They are going to be good for you. But also remember, having more of those fruits and vegetables because of that fiber that you are going to find in them. And also whole grains. Whole grains will also help you, making you feel a little bit fuller. And then you will not have too many of those calories, right, in your diet. So I hope that helps you. But yes, there is some truth behind them too. Here is a question. I have a student who wants you to review how much sugar a young man needs every day and maintain their health. Okay, so it doesn't mean that they need sugar, but that's a great question. Let me go back and share my screen. So we were talking about what the American Heart Association says about the maximum amount of added sugar that you can have. So it means that you do not need this added sugar. So here we have 6 teaspoons for adult women and teens. So teenagers, maximum 6 teaspoons of sugar, maximum, no more than 6 teaspoons. Adults, men, 9 teaspoons of sugar, no more than 9 teaspoons. Now, again, everything right behind me is going to be turned into sugar in our blood, right? Everything here will turn into sugar in our blood. So this is the sugar, right? That is going to be transforming in our blood that we need. Always prefer this one than the added sugar. Yes, everything turns into sugar. So that's the energy. There is not a maximum amount. If we talk about calories, yes, because that sugar, right, all this that transforms into energy in sugar in our blood is going to be also, another word will be the calories that we have. So with the calories, each one of us needs different amount of calories depending on the physical activity that you do during the day. So always be mindful about that. There is a website, and because we do have few minutes, I would like to share this with you. It's called the My Plate Plan. My Plate Plan. And this website is actually going to help you to calculate, and let me share now that I have it in my screen. Very good. So I will share here with you. This is what I'm looking at. This is My Plate Plan. So if you Google My Plate Plan, this is what you are going to find. This is from the myplate.gov, and this will actually calculate. So let me give you an example. So here we click Start. And now it's going to ask you age. Now, nobody here, okay? We are not giving an example of anyone here. So let's see somebody that is about 35 years old, male, weight, let's say, here, 200. Now, height, let's see, okay, 5'7". And then physical activity. Less than 30 minutes a day of moderate activity, 30 to 60 minutes a day of moderate activity, or more than 60 minutes a day of moderate activity. Let's say this person does less than 30 minutes a day of moderate activity. Now we calculate, And then it says 2,400 calories to achieve a healthy weight. So it means that maybe he needs to lose some weight. Or 2,600 calories to maintain your current weight. So let's click here. Now it will take you to this page and it will actually calculate what do you need from each one of those food groups. 2 cups of fruits during the day, 3 cups of vegetables, 6.5 ounces of protein, 3 cups of dairy, 8 ounces of grains, right? So each one of us is going to be different. So this website is going to help you to calculate, because then here we can try another person. Let's say here it will be somebody of 15 years old, female, pregnant, no, wait, neither. Here, weight, let's say 150, height, 5'5", and then physical activity less than 30 minutes. So we calculate, and this person needs 2,000 calories, right? So it's going to be less than the person that we did before. So this person needs 2 cups of fruits, 5.5 ounces of protein, 2.5 cups of vegetables, 3 cups of dairy, and 6 ounces of grain. So it's different, right? So again, each one of us will be different depending on the physical activity, the height, the weight. So I think that will help you a lot to calculate what do you need. I hope that helped you. Yes. Very good. Okay, thank you so much. I don't know if there are any other questions.
Are there any
No?
other questions before we wrap up for the morning?
Nobody asked me about honey or those, yeah, or those natural sugars. Honey will also be considered, so it comes from those bees, right? It has health properties, but it's also going to fall in the added sugar part. So it's not going to be a natural one like the say fruits or the lactose, but it's also considered added sugar. So also, yes, have it. It's not bad to have it with you. Add a little bit, but be mindful with the amount. Yes. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for coming, Illuminata. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Yes, thank